We do not turn no's into yeses. That's not what a real sales, that's not what I do.
Okay.
I turn let me think about it into a yes. Let me speak to my wife into a yes. It's a bad time of year into a yes. I'm not that liquid right now into a yes. Let me call you back and send me some. I turn those people into a yes now.
So
if someone says,
with the no's then?
next.
Hey guys, my name is Alex Vidal and I am host of the Closer Club. Closer Club, where we get to interview some of the country's top real estate players, celebrity entrepreneurs, athletes, and politicians. Today you're tuning to episode number 77, where I get to sit with arguably one of the best salespeople in the country, Jordan Belfort. What you see is what you get with him. He is high impact, high energy, and delivers a ton of content for any type of salespeople in the country. Have fun and make sure you subscribe at the end. Thank you guys.
Facebook?
We're live on Facebook right now. Say hello.
Wait, this is really live on Facebook?
This is really live on Facebook.
Wow. Technology still to this day baffles me, you know?
Jordan, thank you so much, man.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate you joining me. We're filming live from his house in LA. I've had a great trip while I've been out here.
There you go.
Had a lot of your friends on. And this guy's got more energy than I could ever fathom. I knew you were an energetic guy, but he came out guns blaring.
There you go.
I love it, man.
I'm always ready. Yeah?
And you're in fabulous shape, as we were talking about. So I thought you were much younger than you are. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty and host of the show. You're watching episode number 77 of the Closer Club with Mr. Jordan Belfort, probably, arguably, the number one sales guy in the country. And we're going to have probably 30, 40, 50,000 realtors watching this.
Brilliant.
So we're going to talk a lot about sales.
Absolutely. Well, the system I teach, actually, one of the core applications is real estate.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. In fact, it's a really funny story. A good friend of mine. So I have a friend, oldest friend in the world. We grew up in diapers together.
Okay.
Born 6 weeks apart. We lived in the same floor of the same 6-story building. He was 5K, I was 5K. He was Alan Lipsky, right? Big realtor, massive commercial realtor. He actually used the straight line system to build, I think he's probably one of the top commercial brokers out there.
What state?
Florida. He does stuff all over the country. Just an amazing guy, incredibly ethical, hardworking, but he's a great communicator. And I think with real estate, I don't look at it like as closing. It's not even close someone on, because that's like implies that you're trying to almost have to force them to do something they shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And I think with real estate, it's one of those sales is really just about, honestly, is really communicating the value, why it makes sense to them both logically and emotionally, and doing it in a way where you connect with them on the basis of rapport. And I don't look at it as something's a hard sales. They are. Something's like you got to ram it down.
Yeah, like, this is a good deal. If you don't do it now, somebody's coming.
That's not real estate. That's not. And if you try to do that with real estate, you're just going to turn people off. You blow up your brand. So the question really is, when it comes to selling real estate, whether it's residential or commercial, is how do you close without being viewed as being a hard charging closer? Because I don't care what anybody says, people hate to be sold to and they love to buy.
Yeah, that's right. So you know what? We're gonna go back to your backstory.
Sure.
But I want to go right into. Let me dig around here. So let's dig deep. Let's just get right into it. Dig deep on the sales process. What are the most important steps and key components to get to a yes?
First thing is that you have to understand that people don't buy from people they don't like and trust.
Got it.
So if you're out there communicating value of a particular property, right? And whatever how you communicate that value proposition doesn't matter. There's many ways to do that. Sure. The point is, if at the end of the day they say, wow, this makes a lot, I love this piece of property, I love this home, and they don't trust you, good luck trying to close that person. It's not enough that they love the property. They also have to trust the salesperson and also the company that stands behind the salesperson. So in the straight line system, we call those the 3 10s. Imagine a continuum of certainty, meaning a 1 means that's the biggest piece of crap real estate I've ever seen. I would never buy that. Things are overpriced, waste time. It's gonna probably has toxic waste under it. Yeah. Give me cancer, right? That's a 1. A 10 is, oh my God, that's the greatest home in the world. I could just see myself growing old there. What a great value. It's just that's a 10. I love it, right? Okay. So the idea obviously is, where do you want them when you ask for the order? And a 1 or a 10, as close to a 10 as possible, right? So if you get someone to a 10, and the way you do that is through communication. You essentially explain to them in a very coherent way the value proposition, the cost-benefit ratio, features, benefits, right? Because you have to also, you can't just mention benefits, you have to mention features too, right? And then to do that, though, in a way that doesn't break rapport, alienate you, the salesperson, or the company that stands behind you, That's how you have to sell real estate. So there's always these three elements lining up.
Okay.
Call them the 3 tenths. That's the start.
So let me go a little off topic here.
Sure.
How much of the qualification process has to do with those three? Meaning, how much qualification goes into qualifying the client before you start addressing the features? Because you have to know what features to hit on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Good question. So in the straight line system, we have what's called the straight line syntax.
Okay.
And what the syntax represents is the order in which you go about transferring the certainty that you have inside you to another human being. In other words, when you're a salesperson, you're selling a property, you have to be yourself absolutely positively certain that this is the best thing since sliced bread. This property is amazing. So you're excited. You know about the property. You know all the features. You know the benefits. You know it's a great deal. They don't know so much. They're not educated like you are, right? So when you actually close someone, when you sell someone, what's really happening is you're saying things to them, you're showing them things, you're handing them documents, directing them to websites that essentially allowing them to essentially take the certainty that you have and bring it to themselves. You're transferring certainty, right? That being said, though, that wouldn't be the first thing you do is not start transferring certainty. The first thing you do is you have to take control of the conversation.
Okay, how do you do that?
You must be perceived as being 3 things. Number 1, sharp as a tack. Number 2, enthusiastic as hell. And 3 is an expert in your field.
Got it.
We've been conditioned since we're yay big to essentially defer and listen to experts. We seek out experts to solve our problems, to help us eliminate our pain. So if you're not perceived as an expert, and it happens in 4 seconds, in the first 4 seconds of a sales encounter, people size you up, they rip you apart, they put you back together based on how each piece is perceived. And if you're perceived the right way, meaning sharp as a tack, enthusiastic, expert in your field, you set yourself up now to do what? To start asking questions, to start gathering intelligence. In other words, when someone that you think is a novice starts to ask you questions, what do? You're like, either you'll give them a perfunctory answer, or you'll answer this with a question of your own.
Sure.
You disrespect them, you abuse them, right? So what I see with salespeople who don't understand that you must be perceived the right way. Now the question is how, is an obvious question, right? I'll get to that later, but the point is you must be perceived as an expert in your field, someone who's sharp on the ball and not going to waste their time. Enthusiasm, it must be good. Yeah. And I don't mean, oh my God, I'm talking about bottled enthusiasm.
Well, and you share that enthusiasm with your knowledge of the product, right?
But enthusiasm comes through not by yelling and screaming and flailing your arms about. It comes through with urgency in your tone. It could be a whisper. It's below the surface, bottled enthusiasm, right? By doing that, along with the right words that you would say, right, you essentially take control of the conversation, and then you use that control to not start selling them property. You start asking questions to gather intelligence. And as you ask those questions, you ask them in a certain tonality, using certain body language, and when they respond, you don't just say, You're like, ooh, You engage in the straight line we call active listening, a certain way of listening where you're, yup, oh, got it, yup, and they understand that you get them, you are just like, and that is how you build massive rapport.
Do you repeat the answer in a way in which you understood it to make sure you understood what they're, so meaning, if you told me, sell my home fast, now your definition of fast may be 30 days, I may think it's 90 days. So how much of the clarifying process plays a role in that?
What you want to be is logical but not insulting someone's intelligence, right? If things need clarification, you clarify them, but remember this, people, when people go to the movies and watch TV, they hate to be moralized to a spoon-fed information. People expect an expert to be able to read between the lines, pick up on cues that are either body language cues, tonality clues, but remember this, if things need clarification, of course, you have what are called follow-up questions. Okay. So you have your basic core questions that you already have memorized. You're going to know what you need to know. Every industry, every sale, every product has certain core information you need to know from that prospect to make sure that A, they're financially qualified, they want the product, they need the product, you want to know what their pain points are, what at the end of the day, what's really keeping them up at night? What's that one worry or feeling of out of control that rests at the base of their skull and keeps them up? When you know that, that's going to actually be the most important thing to ultimately close or sell someone something. But the idea is that once you have this first 4 seconds where you, and the first 4 seconds then goes for another 15 where you introduce yourself, but the first 4 seconds, they are judging you. That's the bottom line. And you're being perceived a certain way. If you perceive the wrong way, dull as dishwater, a disinterested bore, and a stone cold novice, good luck trying to ask people anything. They will give you one word answers, or they'll just start interrupting you and asking you questions, and you've lost control of the conversation. So in the straight line system, what we have are these healthy boundaries, and we have like the straight line in the middle, and these boundaries, and it's very easy to understand how you actually keep the sale moving forward towards the close without losing control of it. So what you're doing is you're engaging in this 2-step process of asking questions, you're gathering intelligence, but doing it in a way that simultaneously builds massive rapport on both a conscious and unconscious level. So by the time you're done asking your questions and you know everything you need to know to decide what features matter, can they even afford the product? Am I wasting my time as a salesperson here? I don't want to pitch to people who can't afford what I have, don't want what I have. And I always say this, as a salesperson, we do not turn no's into yeses. That's not what a real that's not what I do. I turn let me think about it into a yes. Let me speak to my wife into a yes. It's a bad time of year into a yes. I'm not that liquid right now into a yes. Let me call you back and send me some. I turn those people into a yes now. So if someone says,
do with the nose then?
Next,
got it.
Out of my pipeline. If someone says, I'm not interested, now I might ask him one more question if it was a snap thing, but listen, the amount of time, this is the biggest problem, and this is what I had with you on my Grant Cardone podcast, was it's such an obvious thing that any really gifted or trained salesperson would understand, is that you don't want to waste your time talking to people who don't want what you have, who can't afford what you have. It's not even nice, by the way. Hey, you tell them about this great, amazing house. Nah, you can't afford it.
Got it.
It's almost evil to do to someone. You have to say, why do that to somebody, right? I'm not going to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. It's unethical. It's just ridiculous. So what we do with intelligence gathering is we find out exactly what their needs are, their values, their belief systems, their pain points, and we do that all under the umbrella of building massive rapport on both a conscious and unconscious levels. So by the time we're done with that process, and we're ready to execute what's called a straight line transition, which is, well, Jim, Jill, John, based on what you said to me, this home is a perfect view. Let me tell you why. And they're like, what? Because they're in such tight, they trust you, they connect with you, you're an expert, they're like, tell me. And you show them and say, this is the solution. Whatever, per se.
No, this is, it's all based on the like and the trust, and that's what I'm trying. That's what the purpose of the show is, for that people. I get to sit with the Jordan Belforts of the world, right? You're one and only for sure, but I get to sit with people like you. But it gives the viewers an ability and a chance to know, hey, as if they work for Related ISG, I like that guy. I could trust him. Look at his energy level. He's connected. Whatever. And then you get into, when you meet with them in a recruiting interview, going through everything.
Right. Just remember this. Every sale is the same, but people are different. So how do you close that gap? In other words, I know for a fact, because I've been around the block for way too long at this point, right? I don't care what you're selling. Tangible products, intangible products, ideas, concepts, training programs, warranties. Listen, there's great listings and there's not so great listings. Correct. I'd rather have a person list their house with me and also let me spend some money marketing the house. I want a budget for marketers. How do you go about really getting the person to buy into you as the expert, not just so they can, list the house, but it's at a realistic price. You can get them what they want, managing expectations correctly, right? All of these things start literally in the first few seconds of the conversation, and then it carries through step by step. As you move them from the open to the close, what you're doing is you're going through each step of the process. Step 2, you want to gather intelligence. Step 3, you're simultaneously building rapport. Right. Step 4, you're executing your transition, which is simple, based on what you said to me. This is the perfect fit. Let me tell you why. Step 5 is the actual presentation. You're going to present the home. Step 6 is when you actually ask for the order the first time and close, tell them here's what I suggest you do. You ask for the order in the way that is not, with no pressure, in a way that is congruent with how the person processes information. It's very easy to, if you're listening, to understand how you should speak to somebody, right?
Absolutely.
And then based on their response, well, what can they say? Yes, no, or maybe.
Yeah.
And
And you said something about it doesn't. I think you're right. Real estate is just the vehicle. It could be cars. It could be warranties. What are the common denominators that you see among the best? And you've trained millions, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, whether they're selling real estate, cars, whatever. What are the common denominators among the best
top producers?
Yeah. What are the common?
Number one is massive hard work. They all work really hard. Number two is they leave their problems, their emotions at the door. They have the ability to show up every day, no matter what's going on in their life, block it out and close. Like, you need to show up in a state of certainty, in a state of clarity, confidence. Why? Because sales is the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is certainty. Right. As I said in the beginning, you're certain that A, you're the right broker or agent for them. You're certain that your company is the best company they should be dealing with, and you're certain this particular property is the one that's going to meet their needs, and emotionally they'll live a great life. It's residential or whatever, right? So the point is, you yourself must show up at the top of your game. People who are talented but struggle like their best selves once every 15 days, they're not top producers. Top producers show up again and again. Number three, top producers invest in themselves and they invest in their businesses. In other words, top producers realize, A, the value of honing their own skills. Yep. They never stop learning and growing. They buy training programs. They buy lead sources. They realize the value of leads. Mm-hmm. They realize the value of joint ventures. They have leads coming in, and also they're masters of referrals. Which is one of the things that with the straight line system I teach is like it create a referral machine, especially in real estate. And my friend Alan grew his business almost exclusively from referral. A lot of cold calling too, but massive referral. And because of that, it brings down your average lead cost, brings up your closure because referrals close a lot easier than non-referrals, right? So at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, what you do. I've taken people who are literally the worst natural salespeople. Really, people who could barely walk and chew gum at the same time. And I've taught them the straight line system, and they've become rich in every industry you could think of. But real estate is probably one of the top five. Auto sales is another. Obviously, financial products is a third, and so forth.
So, assuming if you were to look back, and you have been around the block a lot, particularly in lots of different types of businesses, what are some of the top business lessons you've learned? If you can go back, you actually posted about this, I think it was yesterday. What would you tell? It was a picture of you like in your 20s, right? So, kids are growing up, they're going into business now. What advice would you give them?
Well, two things. Number one is that the most important thing for an entrepreneur is you need to learn how to fail elegantly. You have to learn how to be wrong in business. This is the thing that most people miss. They have an idea, they get so pumped up about it, they sell themselves, which is important. You have to sell yourself on it. But they don't realize that it's probably going to take 4 or 5 different tweaks to this idea, to the plan, before it actually works, before it becomes what they want it to become. And what a lot of people do, the mistake they make is they go all in without really testing their ideas, testing with low overhead, testing with as much positive cash flow as possible. They just think they're so right on with their idea. They start expanding and growing, and they really don't have a business that's functional, that's scalable, and they blow up. They lose everything at a young age, and then what happens is the limiting beliefs start to set in, because when you're down and out, and you're lost all your money, and the phone stops ringing, your friends stop calling you, right? And you say to yourself, you don't say to yourself, wow, maybe I should have learned more maybe I should have learned the rules of success in business before I leaped. What you say is, maybe I'm not meant to be rich. Maybe I'm not entrepreneur material. Those are limiting beliefs. You're telling yourself a story, and unless you're very careful, that story can come to define your life about who you think you are. Happens all the time. You have all these people who are in their 30s and 40s that are now sort of like the gerbil on the treadmill.
Yep.
And they once, when they were younger, had these great hopes and dreams, but they had some setbacks along the way. Sometimes it was their own fault. Sometimes it was no fault of their own. They just in the wrong place, wrong time, didn't work out. And they start to go into this denial phase. They say, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be that successful. Maybe I wasn't meant for it. and they just allow themselves to exist as like, I call them like, 20-watt light bulbs versus burning bright, being at 100 watts and living their best life. And my message to those people is it's never too late to snap out of that bullshit, because it's a complete bullshit story you tell yourself. A lot of it happens because people, they take actions and they are doing it in a way that they have no chance of success. They got it wrong. The idea they have is either half-baked, or the plan they have is flawed.
Got it.
I don't care how smart I am or how great I am at selling a business. If I go out there with a flawed plan, I'm not going to make money. I deal with this every day in my own business right now. The difference is, though, is when I'm testing those things, I test them in like my test tubes. I don't spend a lot of money on it. I'm on it doesn't work out next, and I make sure I have my consistent cash flow coming in from things like I'm a brand and my speaking fees, my consulting. So I always have this umbrella, this multi-million-dollar umbrella that supports everything else. But when I go to test something, I'm not just going to radically expand. Say, I'm so smart, I'm so great that it'll just work. It's not. Most times things don't work. They take tweaks.
So you mentioned something about the best sales. I want to circle back to something about the salespeople, about they show up regardless of what they're going through. Now, if there's anybody who has experienced extreme highs and extreme lows, it's you. And if there's anybody that's experienced high pressure situations, it's you. What systems do you have in place to handle the highs, handle the lows, and particularly the high pressure situations?
So in terms of the highs, I don't need the handles. I bathe in those.
Got it.
When things are going great, I respect it. I press. When things are going well, press. You make hay when the sun shines, because you never how long that window of opportunity is going to stay open.
Got it.
But when things are going well, you press, you grow, you scale, right? When things are not going so well, right? What you have to do basically, it's about not buying into the narrative that I am defined by my mistakes, that I am my mistakes. See, I know for a fact that I get stronger from my mistakes. Every time something goes wrong in my life, every time I make a mistake, every time I fail, so to speak, right? I learn and I grow. I build muscle from that. I get stronger, not weaker. Yes, I could have a temporary week or two. I just went through a very difficult personal with the separation from my wife, right? I had a couple weeks I was very hard to function, but I did my podcast. I did what I had to do to tread water, and now I pull out of it, and I'm back to myself again, and that's a good thing, right? Am I as happy as I've ever been? No, probably not, right? But I won't let it hold me down very long, right? The key is to not allow your mistakes to become you. Say, I am this. I am that. I'm not meant for greatness, wealth, success. I'm just an average person. And let me just tell you something. The other side of the equation is you have to respect the fact that maybe you are average. Bottom line. That maybe you don't have any specialized skills. And you know what? If that's the case, then learn some. See, this is what drives me crazy with people. If you want to get rich, there are certain skills you must have. You must learn how to be a closer. You must learn how to share an idea, a message, right? I teach people how to not just close, but how to communicate, how to become people of power, so to speak, how to become forces to be reckoned with, right? Without that skill, it's really difficult to make money. Show me who gets it. You can hit the lottery, yes. Maybe you're a member of the Lucky Sperm Club. You've been born into wealth, right? Okay. Maybe you're one of those people, you go to medical school, different route. But for most people out there, you must learn how to, communicate your ideas effectively. You have to learn how to sell. Selling is everything. B, you must have some proficiency at marketing. Meaning, how do you attract the right people into your sales funnel? They're two distinct things. You have marketing on one side, sales on the other.
Absolutely.
The third aspect is...
Which one's more important to you?
They're both equally important. Okay. In other words...
Can't have one without the other.
Yeah, well, you can. You can sell without marketing. It just takes a really special person who's going to cold call themselves and do the... Because a salesperson without marketing is what they're telemarketing. Right. Or they're knocking on... That's marketing, so to speak, right? So you're really always marketing, because when you're knocking on doors or cold calling, you're telemarketing. So you're You're door-to-door marketing, right? In terms of marketing, you can market from today to tomorrow. If there's no close attached to it, there's no way to monetize that. You're going to go broke very quickly, right? All the top guys out there in internet marketing. You know what they do? They have these amazing sales funnels, and they can get people in to a certain point. But then what they do, they pick up the telephone. They have salespeople call up the people who bought stuff from them, and maybe $9.95 or $99, whatever that price is. And if they want to sell them more expensive programs, most people want to speak to a human being, find out more, get comfortable, really understand the features and benefits, value proposition, cost-benefit ratio, and so forth, right? So they work together hand in hand. And the third element of that is going to be the rules and strategies of business and entrepreneurship. Meaning, you have on one side, how do you fail elegantly? How do you test your ideas, test your concepts, whether you're starting a business or if you're in business and want to test a new idea, a new direction. You don't test that and say, this new idea is so great, let me just shut the old one down. And no, you test it small, and then you slowly phase it. And the video I put out last week was, I thought, a great one, was this idea that there's this area where the danger zone here is when you get false positives, where you test an idea, it works small, like, damn, I'm going to scale, but then it doesn't scale correctly. So there's other tests you need to do before you actually scale.
Do you teach that in the straight line system?
Of course, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the straight line.
Where can they find the straight line system?
So what's this? slsc.pro, I think, is the website for it. But you can actually, listen, if you go on Facebook, go to jordanbelfort.com. And as I also give people, I do this because no one ever refunds their money. Look, I have like a 0 refund rate in this program. It's so amazing. It really is. It's so amazing, this program. It would be literally impossible for a human being to go through this and not succeed at what they do if they really tried.
I got a good buddy of mine, Ryan Jeffries. He worked. He came in after you, and he tells me to this day, and he's a very successful real estate agent. To this day, no system has ever been better than straight line.
No, it really, it's one of the, it's ironic because there's so much shit out there that doesn't work.
Oh my God.
There's so many scams out there. This really works better than you would think possible. It just works because it covers every aspect of the sale, right down to the app sale, to referrals. Like for instance, in car sales. I don't know if it's big in real estate, but it is some of it. In car sales, like there's warranties and like rust proof, where they make.
It's all profit.
So in real estate, there's the sale, but there's also what comes after that. Is also getting money for listings, right? For advertising and stuff, and also just the referrals. See, you close. Here's what happens, right? There's two types of closes, right? There's people who close themselves. They're like pre-sold. Like they see the house, they like the house. They would have bought from They would have bought from my grandma. I know she's dead, but they buy from her even. Like the skeleton would come, they buy from her. They see it, they like it, done, right? But there's those people, and there's many more of these that weren't quite sure, but the salesperson was able to guide them down the so-called straight line, take them down this process, and got them to say, yeah, and when you do that, with the straight line, you're in such tight rapport with these people, you don't have to wait to ask for referrals. I was in the mortgage industry, and this is a true story. I would go to people's homes to refinance the house, right? And walk in the door, and they'd be freaking hostile towards me, right? And within 15 minutes, the wife is cooking me a spaghetti dinner and meatballs and bringing me drinks. And by the time I'm done, they're calling their friends up, and I wrote up their mortgage. It hadn't gotten it approved yet, but they're saying to everyone, this is the best. They give me 10 referrals. Why is that? Because I got them to such a high level of certainty about all 3 10s that they'll give you referrals on the spot. So what happens is when you really are selling correctly, people will just open up their phone book and start calling on their phone these days, right, for you, and it's an amazing thing. So that's, I think, why people have such success in the system is that, it does fit any industry. There are obviously certain industries that it works particularly well with. One is real estate, autos, finance. It works for anything, but I will tell you that if you use it and don't succeed, it's because you're not trying. You're just not trying.
So what about the people who say, oh my God, I invest in straight line, but now they're scared to pick up the phone or scared to do step 1 and whatever it is. How do you tackle fear?
Here's the beauty. When I started Stratton, every single day I would give a meeting in the morning for about 30, 40 minutes. And then at the afternoon, 5 o'clock after the bar closed, I give another 45-minute meeting. Why? Salespeople, we are just unique animals. We need to be constantly pumped up, reinforced. Skills, we have to reinforce skills training. What I found when I first started teaching the straight line system, which is a great question, is that sometimes people would not succeed with it. And it baffled me. I'm like, I don't get it, because the training is so good, it's so solid. And I realized the difference is that they're not hearing from me every single day. So what I did is I came up with a program. It's called Daily Motivations and Skills Training. When you buy this program, going forward for 1 year, every morning I'm in your ear, 7 days a week. Now on the weekends I give you softer, feel good, but in the morning I'm pumping you up. I'm sharpening your skills. Every morning you wake up in your inbox. Once a week I do a live training where I actually answer my people's questions. I love answering questions, right? So I don't leave it up to chance. So not only do you get this incredibly organized training that's like literally, it's interactive training, meaning I'm actually asking you questions, we're interacting. It's on a very robust platform. It's got 200 and something page workbook attached to it. It's got questions and answers. And, it's got exercise. It's just ridiculously great, right? But then besides that formalized training, I'm in your ear every single day, making you your best self. I don't leave it up to chance. And once I started that, I go to you just go to my website. The things that people say are ridiculous. Right. All right. That's the secret.
Jordan, I got to go.
You got it.
It's been a true pleasure. I'm going to turn around and turn off the camera. I have a few more questions, so we're going to have to do a round two if that's okay with you.
You got it. Yeah.
Either New York or LA. Any parting words for the audience as I go around and turn it off?
No words. Guys, take care. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a drink.
All right.